Hey, family. Happy Tuesday. It has been, I believe, 2 weeks since I've been on here with you all, and I feel a bit out of practice. Before I get going, though, I do want to apologize to you if you're checking this out and you're on my email list. I was supposed to be going live at 11 a.m. Eastern today. However, as in the life of most enrolled agents, I had a fire to put out. And because I'm out of practice with doing this right now, I did not have my phone on Do Not Disturb before I was going to go live. So that did kind of interfere, and that's why I'm a little bit late. So again, I do apologize because I know it's 11:25. It's not 11 a.m. Eastern. However, let's get moving with this. Like I said, I think it's been about 2 weeks. So last week, I was in Florida with the Florida Society of Enrolled Agents. And I actually don't need this because I can't hear you. I was there teaching in a conference. So I covered how to hire your family properly, talking about children, parents, spouses. I did the back tax negotiation workshop, an abridged version of that, divorce and taxes, and the Augusta rule. So yeah, that's where I was at. I think 3 weeks ago, I was with NAEA in Washington, D.C. And actually, some of you all's inquiries about my post about being in Washington, D.C. are exactly why I'm covering this topic today on what is NAEA. Because sometimes when you talk about things like it's in your everyday lingo, you forget that not everybody knows what that is, what all comes along with that package. So for me, as I was posting about NAEA, I had these things in mind, but I had some people on Facebook, LinkedIn, a few on YouTube reach out and they said, "Hey, Timlin, I never even knew NAEA existed. Can you talk more about it?" And I think 2 weeks ago, I talked about NAEA and the government relations and PAC and the Legal Defense Fund, education, and you guys wanted more information about it. So today I'm just going to talk about what NAEA is, why I've joined, and why I think you should join depending on what your goals are in your career. All right. Because I tell you guys all the time, for some things, I don't have a blanket answer, right? It truly does depend on what your goals are for your career and for your business. But before I get going, let's see. I got 3 people on YouTube. Folks on YouTube, hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. Let me check out LinkedIn because you guys know if you are on LinkedIn, you have to give StreamYard permission to show your comment. Otherwise, I will not know you're here. So let me go ahead and pull it up on my phone. Oh, come on, my 3 people on YouTube. You can go ahead and show me some love. Drop down in the comments and say, hey. Let me see. I don't see myself popping up on LinkedIn yet. There I am, looking at my phone. All right, I'll turn that down. So we got a few folks on LinkedIn. Go ahead and say what's up. I will keep you right here. So I see you as you're coming in. All right, there we go, LinkedIn. So Ismail says hi from Iowa. Good morning, because I know it's a little bit earlier there. We got Deja. I see you, girl, on LinkedIn. Deja is usually with me on Facebook. She says hi. Good morning to you, Deja. Because it's 10:30 up there near Chicago. Tanya Horton says hey. And guys, remember, as I'm going, any questions you have about NAEA, any comments, this video is the same as all my other lives. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop those down in the comments, and I'm more than happy to address them. So I see I got one more person on LinkedIn. We're still at 3 on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and get going. So for NAEA, I am not referring to the National Arts Education Association, right? Because if you type it in, that's what pops up. What I'm talking about is the National Association of Enrolled Agents, okay? So within this organization, they boast of being the nation's leading community of tax practitioners. And yes, it is for enrolled agents. But if you are an aspiring enrolled agent, you are also welcome to join. They also have different levels of membership. So if you were an enrolled agent but no longer practicing, you can also be a member. Or if you are a student, or if you are, let's say, an accounting teacher, guidance counselor, like you can still be a part of the organization. So even if you are an enrolled agent and you are not a member, NAEA represents over 65,000 enrolled agents, right, across the world. When I say represent, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, I had posted, I think a month or 2 or 3 months ago, about a newer EA, and they said they didn't know if they were going to renew their membership with NAEA. And they asked my thoughts. And I remember being in the same position as that person. And the reason why I renewed my membership and why I stayed is because of three things. All right. Clout is not one of them. So when I first joined, and I apologize if you guys can hear my phone going off. Let me put it on silent. There they go. All right. So it's not for clout. A lot of people will say, it's the premier organization and you need to have that membership behind your name and on your resume. I believe that, but for different reasons. Okay. I can't say that NAEA made me America's favorite EA, right? As of right now, I don't honestly know if NAEA has brought me any business. I've never had a client. No, I'm sorry. I have had somebody tell me they found me on the or in the directory. But for me, it was about the advocacy. For me as an enrolled agent, even if you aren't a member, they're advocating for you as an enrolled agent. Then also, we have the power of the network, right? Because this newer EA that was on the phone with me that reached out honestly for support on a case, they knew me because we had met each other through a committee with NAEA. So they're struggling with this case as they're building their practice. They weren't sure of how to handle this case, how to, properly start out and talk to the IRS, fill out certain forms. Had they not been a member of NAEA, they would not have had access to me, right? Because if I didn't know this person personally, if I had not interacted with them before, and it was just somebody off the internet, I more than likely would not have said, hey, here's my number, give me a call, I'll walk you through it. So we do have the power of the network there. But back to the advocacy piece, not only does NAEA advocate for you, and when I say that, I mean, they help protect our rights as enrolled agents to practice before the IRS. Because remember, as an enrolled agent, the education barrier is very low. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have an accounting degree because you don't have to have a college degree, right? You can have a high school diploma or the equivalent and still sit for the EA exam. As an enrolled agent, you have unlimited practice rights before the IRS. So you have the same rights as a tax attorney. You have the same rights as a CPA before the IRS. And everybody is not a big fan of that. So NAEA is in a unique position to advocate to make sure those rights are protected. Because remember, again, for tax attorneys and for CPAs, they are licensed through their state. We are licensed federally. But when we have the whole thing with states' rights, there may be states that come up against that and say, hey, you don't have the right to practice here. NAEA would step in that situation and help protect your rights. In addition to that, not only do they help protect our rights as tax professionals if you're an enrolled agent, they also put us in a unique position to advocate for taxpayers on Capitol Hill, which those are the posts that I made where people were inquiring about, hey, what is NAEA? Because at the end of May, so what, the week before Memorial Day, I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. I met our commissioner. right? The IRS commissioner. I got to speak with the taxpayer advocate, the woman that's over all of it, Erin Collins. Got to have conversation with some of the tax journalists that have been following everything. We got to see kind of where the IRS is headed. And not only did I get to, when I sat in conversation with them, I'm not saying I went to go listen to a lecture from them. It was honest dialogue and conversation because not only did they share their hearts and their vision, they also heard from us as enrolled agents. That in and of itself is very, very, very powerful and puts me in a position to be able to advocate for my clients like, hey, Mr. Commissioner, this doesn't honestly work the way it's intended to. What's going on with the taxpayer accounts? What is going on with different things? Does it look like the TCJA is going to be expiring? For those of you that don't have it on your radar, the Tax Cut and Job Act is going to be expiring in 2025. So, are we going to go back to having tax exemptions? Or is the standard deduction going to stay the same? Are we going to have that SALT cap? So, with the state and local taxes, where it's capped at a $10,000 deduction? Well, of course, we know a lot of this will depend on who's in office, right? And we know a lot of it will depend on, when I say in office, I mean who wins this presidential election. It will depend on who's in the House, right? So the election is going to play a big part, but these journalists that are on Capitol Hill, they have insight because they're covering the things that are going on up there. People from different committees are going to have insight as to the politicians they're working for, which way we're leaning. All right. So that's powerful insight for me as a tax professional to kind of help plan and not only equip my fellow EAs to be able to help their clients, but also to equip taxpayers so they can prepare as well. In addition to that unique position that they provided us with, we also had the opportunity to talk to representatives and senators. So for me, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I got to speak with the office of Representative Morgan McGarvey. He's a newer person here in Kentucky because, we get them in here in Kentucky and we like to keep them forever. Mitch McConnell. But that unique opportunity to say, hey, these are some of the issues that not only taxpayers across the country are facing, but people right here in Louisville, Kentucky are facing. I was put in a position to not only share the problems with them, but also share some solutions, how these things could be solved. Here's a bill that's being worked on that I think that you should look at. And that's not the only office I spoke with. I was able to speak with 2 offices in Tennessee, as well as the office of Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Rand Paul. And, political party aside, the meetings went very well because, again, yes, I'm presenting them with the problems. The thing about when you see those different meetings and things, yes, it's good that they're presenting problems, but a lot of what we see is the yelling that goes back and forth, right? The disrespect and the name calling and all of that type of stuff. In this 30 minutes, I was able to present them, and I had about 30 minutes with each office. I'm able to present to them 4 different areas where they can make an impact on tax legislation. And not only that, give them 4 paths to a solution that is looking out for the American taxpayer, right? Not looking out for one political party over the other, but taxpayers as a whole, right? Because we have to find the common ground and make sure that we're taking care of the taxpayer. That was the goal of me as an enrolled agent, and hopefully our elected officials as well. When being in those offices, I think there was one who begrudgingly said thank you. It wasn't one of my folks, it was one of those Tennessee folks. But the reason they said thank you is because we were able to put a face with the problem, tell them how it's actually affecting people, share legislation that is being proposed that can change that, and share tangible ways that they can help be part of the change. Now, with that being said, I would have loved to do that before, but there is no way in the world I would have known how to do that and get in those rooms without an organization such as NAEA, the National Association of Enrolled Agents, on my side and on my team. They paved that way and opened that door for me to be able to participate in that. All right. Does that make sense? So I see I got some more people hopping on. I got some people that have hopped off. Let me look at LinkedIn really quick. So Ismail says, I finally made a decision to take on EA over CPA. How long do you recommend for one to prepare for the different parts? Ismail, that's a very good question. First of all, congratulations on deciding to become an EA, but that is really going to depend on the person. So for me, it did not take as long to study for part 2. And I tell people part 2 is easier for me in comparison to some of my peers, but that is because I had experience in a public accounting firm and I did business returns. So S corps, partnerships, I was good with those things. I didn't need the extra hand holding or study time that some other people need. I think, honestly, if you were to buckle down now, you could have all 3 parts passed before next tax season. And if you were wondering, you didn't ask, but I would highly recommend Hawk International, their study material. I believe Christy and Brian Hawk, they're getting ready to do a webinar on why to become an enrolled agent. And it's sometime this month. I want to say it's the 26th maybe, but they're doing a joint webinar on that. And they're going to also go over some of the Hawk material. So I would definitely go check that out. And I think it's going to be on LinkedIn. It's advertised on LinkedIn. So yeah, you're in the right spot. Hello. So I got all into the advocacy part. Let me get a little bit more into what NAEA is. So NAEA does have members in all 50 states in the country. In addition to that, globally, there are members in 17 different countries across the globe. Another thing, when I go back to the network, I think just like any other organization, it is what you make it, right? You're going to get out what you put in. If you've met me in person, if I'm speaking, I'm super low key and to myself just because I need to save my energy. Because when I get up, I want to have the same energy that I have on the internet. And I'm not always this energetic in person, right? And people that tell you that I am, either they don't really know me or they see me one day out of the week. And for that one day out of the week, I'm this energetic. So, for example, when I was in Florida, I taught 6 continuing education credit hours, and I don't think I've ever taught more than 4 at a conference before. So I was tired. I was dealing with some allergy stuff, but people were asking, was I okay? I was going to my room and crashing afterwards, right? Because I was drained from being up and teaching. If I'm not teaching, I'm a bit more outgoing and I make sure that I meet who I need to meet. NAEA provides you with that opportunity because whenever they have a conference, you're getting to interact with different EAs from all across the country. So again, when I was in DC, we had EAs from all over. It was pretty cool because I met an EA who is in Texas. However, he's originally from Indiana, and I am too, if you didn't know. And he has an office up here that's probably like an hour and a half from my office now. So very small world, really cool. I got to meet some of my New York EA friends that I've only got to meet online. So it was also cool. But the whole reason I got a chance and opportunity to be in Florida with the Florida Society of Enrolled Agents is because of being a member of NAEA. I would have never even known that those people existed. We would have never been able to connect. They probably would not have seen me online as quickly as they did and be able to ask me to join them in a conference. This was my second year speaking with them, actually. But I've talked about the advocacy, I've talked about the network, I've talked about what NAEA is. Do you guys have any other questions? And I see I'm a little bit behind on LinkedIn, so I'll give you guys a minute. Alrighty. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to love you and leave you. Next week, I won't be on here on Tuesday. However, if you were on my email list, I'm getting ready to send a poll out to see when you would like for me to go live, either this weekend or next weekend, because I have something coming up with how to start an enrolled agent firm in 45 days. And if that is something of interest to you, then I would love, 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 love to have you on my next live. And nope, still no questions. So like I said, I'm going to love you and leave you. If you're watching the replay of this, make sure that you let me know in the comments, and I will be back to talk with you. Ismail says there's a lot of EAs in India. Can one in Africa become an EA in practice? Yes, sir, they absolutely can. And I'm going to be covering that in a little bit, probably not in a video, probably in an article, because I've had a lot of people ask me about being an EA when they live outside of the US. So that is becoming a more common question that I'm getting. So I do want to make sure that I'm answering that as well. Now, I apologize because I got about 7 people hopping on LinkedIn now, but I'm getting ready to hop off unless you guys hit me real quick with questions. But you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you here on this platform later.